What if Elemental Hero Neos was my favourite card instead of Dark Magician? I'm a little short on ideas for Yu-Gi-Oh! What Ifs. I've plenty of ideas for Robot Wars ones, but not enough for Yu-Gi-Oh! So I thought I'd redo a few that I did when I previously did this series. So yeah, in this case we're going back to Neos. So Neos basically fulfills the role of Dark Magician as the protagonist's ace monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Now of course, around the time Neos and the Neospatians came out, I was already a big fan of the Elemental Heroes, and naturally I would have tried to make a Neospatian deck still. But then, you know, it would have become more favourable than Dark Magician, and then although Dark Magician is still a favourite, it would have kind of taken a back seat. And I guess I would have tried to see if I could make Neos work in my actual Elemental Hero deck, even though he didn't fuse with anything. Although I guess that would have changed when the Omni Elemental Heroes came out. I guess I would have tried to merge the two archetypes like Jaden did, but it wouldn't have been very consistent. I don't think I would have had a lot of luck in my duels. So it would have been a bit frustrating, but then as more support came out, including Ancient Rules, Summoner's Art, Elemental Hero Prisma, and it would have made things a lot easier for me. And I guess what I would have tried to do eventually is make a deck specifically based around him, even if it evolved into Neos Beatdown. And then that's what I would have aimed to go for instead of Prismagician. And then of course that would have been my favourite and signature deck. I don't know if I still would have had Neospatians or kept them around. I definitely still would have kept Dark Magician and Elemental Heroes around as second and third favourite decks, but then my Neos deck would have been the main one, and it would have ran a lot better than any variant of Dark Magician, just because statistically Elemental Heroes are more consistent. Stratos being released would have helped out a lot as well. Then of course there's the question of Rainbow Neos. It's unclear whether or not I would have still made a Rainbow Neos deck, but I feel like I would have still tried to run it in my Neos deck, just because, even if it was just one or two copies, and that's what I would have settled with. I probably wouldn't have made a deck specifically based around Rainbow Neos. But I still would have had it anyway, just because it's one of those cards that I would have wanted to have, just like how I just want to have Dark Paladin in my Dark Magician extra deck. And and yeah, that would have basically been my deck which I would have played. Whether or not it would have helped me qualify in any regionals, I have no idea whatsoever. But I do know that Dark Magician would have stayed the same, like in its spellcaster form, and I never would have made those other incarnations, including Dark Magician Hero. I think Legendary Hero would still have been made, though, only with the focus being mainly on Neos, whereas Dark Magician, Stardust Dragon, and eventually Utopia would be the other aces of Legendary Heroes still. But I don't know if I would have ultimately kept the deck that way, or just kept Legendary Hero around, or I mean, coming to the days when Stratos got banned and stayed banned, and then Pendulums and Links came into the game, it would have still ended up getting more difficult to play, because I'd need to run Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and other pendulums to support it, and I still would have needed to put in Decode Talker and Firewall Dragon. So I think eventually Legendary Hero would have still separated into my Dark Magician, Elemental Hero and Neos decks. But I would have had Legendary Hero as a pass format deck still. And then I guess Static Super Saiyan 3 and Margin Sage of Darkness would have become like Hero and Neos rivals. And it would have been fantastic having mirror matches. And I would like to think that eventually I would have won at least one local tournament with this deck. Although it would have been really annoying not having Stratos available. Naturally things would have got easier when he came back. Going into Master Rule 4, I don't think, well, depending on how I made my Neos deck, I don't think Master Rule 4 would have hurt it that much, depending on how I ran it. Then when Neos Fusion and Brave Neos came into the game, that would have given this deck a massive boost. And like I said, Neos Fusion just made the Neos Neospacian fusions and Rainbow Neos a lot easier to summon. So then, yeah, I guess it would have been my Neos deck would have changed back more into Neospacians, and then that would have been my deck. Whether or not I would have played all the Neospacians, I'm not quite sure. I would have given it a go and maybe played 2 copies of Rainbow Neos, or maybe just stuck with one. I don't know. I guess one would have been easier, unless I was specifically basing the deck on Rainbow Neos. Then of course things would have changed quite a lot when Power of the Elements came out and support came out, which made it so that both archetypes, the Elemental Heroes and Neospacians, actually worked properly together. And then once that came out, what I would have done then was simply combine my Elemental Hero and Neos decks together into one deck, and then it would have just simply been Elemental Heroes again. Although, Neos would have still been the ace monster of my Elemental Hero deck, closely followed by Shining Flare Wingman, Shining Neos Wingman, and of course Rainbow Neos. And yeah, the deck would have just been so strong and just better than ever. Maybe even my best deck, although rather annoyingly it still would auto lose to monsters that either shut down special summons or Naturia Beast, Hope Harbinger, or Dark Bribes on legs, or any monster that negates everything. Regarding the negates, Super Poly would have been my only saving grace, although during the days Super Poly would have been banned, I would have had to resort to using Kaijus. Yeah, it would have been just incredible. Don't know if I would have gone in a more competitive direction, because I know the more competitive hero decks do run Neos, Flame Wingman, Infernal Rage, Shining Neos Wingman, Favourite Contact, and of course Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Yeah, going in a more competitive direction with heroes would have depended on whether or not I'd quit tournaments. I mean, would those occasions where I quit tournaments still happen? I don't know. I guess it is a possibility. Yeah, especially like last year and earlier this year, considering what happened. The other thing is I probably wouldn't even be called Dark Magician. I mean, I probably would have had a completely different YouTube username. Yeah, I don't know what I'd come up with, but yeah, that's basically what would have happened if Elemental Hero Neos was my favourite card instead of Dark Magician. So, thanks for watching, stay safe, see you later.